alaikum. You already know I'm from Brooklyn because my voice is like 10 times louder than hers. And I'm not even trying to speak loud. This is just how I speak. How's everybody doing this morning? Alhamdulillah. I'm from New York, so you know, you guys got to give me some of that energy. Salaam alaikum. All right, that's better, that's better.
They're using Slido for questions.
Whatever that means. I'm grandma. I don't know what Slido is.
I'm sorry, this is a fault on my part. So for questions, we will be using Slido. That is S-L-I-D-O. So the access code that you will need is YP2017.
So that must be something on the app you have or something. And I'm cool, but I'm not that cool. So I don't know what she's talking about. But apparently that's how you're going to ask me questions. So I am just so excited to be here. This is probably the best year of my life and the worst year of my life, all at the same time. So I'm always so grateful and humbled to be amongst my Muslim sisters and brothers, my family. I just feel a lot of love. I feel like the true sense of the word when we say ummah when I come to MAS-ICNA. This is actually my second year in a row at MAS-ICNA, and mashallah, what a beautiful program, beautiful speakers, beautiful attendees, and I hope that you all are enjoying it as much as I am. So the topic today was the next president of the United States of America sitting in this room. Who here is born in the United States? Okay, so that's process of elimination. So definitely, if you are born in the United States, you could definitely be the next president of the United States of America. Now, if you were not born in the United States, raise your hand. Okay, so look around. Those folks who are not born here can still be your Secretary of State, Secretary of Energy, Secretary of Transportation, members of your cabinet. So we all got a role to play. So don't worry. All of us are going to have a position when there becomes the real first Muslim president of the United States of America. Because apparently, according to some, we already had a Muslim president. He wasn't very happy about that. Now, we have been questioned many times, and I don't know if people remember during the 2016 elections, literally, they said there's no way that we can ever allow for there to be a Muslim president in this country. And throughout the past few years and in more recent times, people have questioned us. Are we worthy? Are we as Muslims American enough? Do we love our country? Do we have loyalty to this country? People have asked us, but your religion is incompatible with the Constitution of the United States of America. People have said that your religion, Islam, belongs on the other side of the world, that you can't serve this nation because you have no loyalty to this nation. And it has started to seep into our young people. And our young people starting to ask themselves, do I have to be less Muslim so that I can make it far, so that I can accomplish the things that I want to accomplish? And I'm here to tell you today that I want you to be unapologetically Muslim, like so unapologetically Muslim like the whole world can't handle it. Because we don't have to be less of anything of who we are to do whatever it is that we set our minds to. And that means that yes, the next president of the United States of America is sitting in this room. What we have to start re-educating ourselves about as American Muslims, and one of the reasons people think that I have courage, they say, Sister Linda, you're so courageous. You always say whatever you want to say, and you stand up. What is it? I say to people, it's not courage that I have. What I have is a pride in the deen that I follow. I don't allow anybody to define who I am or how I am or how I show up or how Muslim I should be. I am going to be all of me, an extra Muslim. Because you know why? Because I have every right to be unapologetically Muslim in these United States of America. But not only do I have every right to be unapologetically Muslim in this country, I have a responsibility, and you all have a responsibility. And in order for us to truly believe and to instill in our young people that you can actually be the next president of the United States of America, maybe not the next one, because you got to be 37. That's how old I am, if you ever wondered. So technically, I could be president of the United States of America. know. You never know. Allahu A'lam. But one of the things that we have to instill in our community is a sense of pride, not just being Muslim, but a sense of pride in being a Muslim in America. Because our young people don't always understand their lineage in these United States of America. So I'm going to take you on a little journey, on some history lessons. And many of you already know this, and I've said these things many times before, but it's important to reiterate and to absorb and to hold deep in your heart. You know, a lot of times people say to me, go back to your country. If you don't like it here, go back to where you came from. Well, I came from Brooklyn, New York. That's the first thing. And I would happily go back to the land of where my parents were born in Palestine, so let's free Palestine, I'd be happy to go back there. But our lineage as American Muslims is so deep in this country. We actually earned our right to become the next president of the United States of America. Sisters and brothers, our history in this country is full of so much resilience and so much pride and so much sacrifice that it actually brings tears to my eyes to think about it. Sisters and brothers, we as Muslims have been on the shores of these United States of America before it was even called the United States of America. That Turks and Moors from North Africa came here hundreds of years ago as expeditionists. And did you know that galley slaves came and built the first English colony called Roanoke Colony on what you know now as the coast of North Carolina? So it was Muslims who built the first English colony. And then some decades later, enslaved Africans were stripped of their homeland, of their culture, of their families, of their resources. And 25 to 30% of those African Muslims, of those Africans, enslaved Africans, were Muslims. So I want to ask you a question, sisters and brothers. You know, I hear a lot of times in our community we talk about Islamophobia and all these really bad things that are happening to Muslims, and it's true. There are a lot of bad things that are happening right now. But I want to take you back a little bit. I want you to imagine for a second that you were an enslaved African Muslim living under the watch of a slave master, enduring the hardship and the torture of the journey as an enslaved person to come to these United States of America, watching your daughters, your wives tortured and raped, oftentimes being separated from your immediate family, someone trying to strip you of your culture and what you knew of your history and where you came from. Sometimes you were fed, sometimes you weren't. You were treated as property, not as the human being that was deserving of love and compassion and dignity like our God wanted. So I ask you, my dear sisters and brothers, when you're feeling low, when you're feeling down, when you're feeling sad, I want you to take it back and put yourself in the position of your Muslim ancestor who had to live and figure out how to be a Muslim, how to pray, how to remember and believe that there was still a God even while they were living under the watch of a slave master. That is your story. That's your story. That's our story. Nobody could take our story away from us. We have a lineage to a people of faith in this country who, because of them and their sacrifices, you get to sit in this room here today at MAS-ICNA and call yourself a Muslim American. This is not magic, sisters and brothers. You didn't just show up or were born in the United States of America and all of a sudden you got up and you were like, Salaamu alaikum, I'm Muslim. This is not how it works in this country. Somebody sacrificed for you to be in this room. And it started with enslaved people who sacrificed for you to be here. And because of those enslaved people, our immigrant great-grandparents from Pakistan and India and Palestine and Lebanon and Syria and Egypt were able to come and pick up and build masajid for us and build institutions for us, because they were continuing a legacy that existed before our great-grandparents came here to go to medical school or to flee political and religious persecution, conflict and war. So that's your story. What else do they say about the Muslims that makes us think that we don't love our country enough, or we're not patriotic enough to be serving the presidency of the United States of America. And I think that we have a misunderstanding in this country of what the word patriotism means. Sisters and brothers, don't let anybody try to compare us living in the United States of America, in the land of freedom and democracy, right? In the home of the brave, right? Try to compare us to Saudi Arabia, or to compare us to monarchies and dictatorships and regimes. That is an imbalanced argument, and do not allow anybody to use that against you. You know, when people say to us, well, if you don't like it here, why don't you go try protesting in Saudi Arabia? I don't live in Saudi Arabia. I'm not from Saudi Arabia. I live in the United States of America, and in this country that I live in, that I was born in, dissent is the highest form of patriotism. So if you are a person in this country who sits back when unarmed black men and women are being killed at the hands of law enforcement, you are not a patriot. When you in this country sit back while our undocumented sisters and brothers, many of whom are Muslim, are being stripped from their families, detained and deported out of this country, and you sit back and allow that to happen on your watch, you are not a patriot. When you allow a government to take health insurance away from people who are terminally ill and people with disabilities and poor people in this country, and put money back in the pockets of the billionaires on your watch as they passed a GOP tax scam bill just 2 weeks ago, you, my dear sisters and brothers, are not a patriot. Let me tell you what a patriot is. A patriot is someone who loves their country so much that you will do everything that you can to ensure that the country that you love loves every single human being equally, that we all have access to the same things. In this country, as Muslims, I'm not asking for any favors. I don't want anybody to do anything special for me. I want to be treated with dignity and respect. I want my children to be treated with dignity and respect. I want all people. I don't care who you are, what your religion is, whether you have a religion, what your race is, what your sexual orientation. I don't care who you are. Everybody who resides in these United States of America deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. And that's what a patriot is. Now, our country actually needs us more than ever. We have an opportunity as Muslims to be the moral compass of these United States of America. Let me tell you why. I'm not moved by Muslims who say Islam is a religion of peace. Is it true? Yes, Islam is a religion of peace. But you know what's more important about Islam? Islam is a religion of justice. You can't have peace without justice. That's just not how peace works. If there is no justice, there cannot be peace. So our jobs as Muslims is to bring justice to the communities that we live, to the country in which we live. So if you are a Muslim who's doing really well, and God has blessed you, but you have Muslims in your community who live in poverty, or you have Muslim women who are divorced and are trying to make ends meet to feed their families. You have refugees who have come to your communities and you have turned a blind eye. That doesn't make you a whole Muslim. There's something missing there. So we as Muslims have a lot to offer this country. And when I think about our role model as Muslims and somebody who we follow, our beloved Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him, sisters and brothers, was a public servant. He was an activist. Every story that you have been taught about the seerah of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there's always a moral to everything, right? I can sit here all day and tell you that our beloved Prophet Muhammad was a women's rights activist. He believed deeply in the education of women and in women being treated with dignity and respect. He was also a man who cared about the environment. Sisters and brothers, I don't understand why there's not enough Muslims in the environmental justice movement. What if Muslims win all of our rights in 20 years? We have full rights and we moved on from this discrimination. What if we don't have a planet to live on? This planet that we have, Allah blessed us with trees and with the lakes and the oceans, and we, even as Muslims, are neglecting the blessings that Allah gave us. And our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us that the earth that Allah gave us is a blessing that we must take care of. So he was an environmental justice activist. Believe it or not, he was also an animals rights activist. He believed that animals were creations of Allah, and that we were to treat animals with dignity and respect. And that's why the concept of zabiha, the understanding that there is a cycle of life, right? And that it's not that Muslims eat meat. Obviously, there are Muslims who are vegetarian, but the cycle of life, that even when we are to sacrifice an animal for a meal, that we do it in the most humane way possible. That's our deen. And that our beloved Prophet Muhammad, I remember being at a rally where a imam from San Diego, a dear friend of mine, Imam Taha, from the Islamic Center of San Diego, was at a rally. We were at a rally about workers' rights. And he said a hadith that really moved me and moved a lot of people in the room who were not Muslim. And he said that our beloved Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Pay the worker before the sweat on his forehead dries." Pay the worker before the sweat on his forehead dries. How profound is that, sisters and brothers? How simple of a concept that is. In fact, I remember a pastor came up to Imam Taha afterwards and said, that should be the whole mantra of the workers' rights movement in America. Pay the worker before the sweat on his forehead dries. Whose words are those? The words of our beloved Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him. Sisters and brothers, we have, as a Muslim community, so much to offer this country when we think about social justice and human rights and compassion and love. Sometimes people misunderstand me, and I'm talking about in the Muslim community. They say, Sister Linda, you know, Islam we're compassionate people. We want to show compassion towards people. And I say to people all the time that what I have inside of me is a righteous anger that is rooted in love. That when I see things around me that I believe are unjust, it makes me angry, it moves me inside. So sisters and brothers, don't ask me why I'm angry. I ask you why you are not angry and outraged at the injustice that we see around us here in the United States and in Syria and in Bangladesh and in Palestine and in Iraq and in Somalia. We, sisters and brothers, anger is a natural emotion. There's nothing unnatural about being angry at injustice. And when we are angry, it is because we love. Right? When you are angry about what's happening in Palestine, why are you angry? Because you love the Palestinian people. Because you want the Palestinian people to have a free Palestine. You want them to have a right to self-determination. You want them to have the right to return to their homelands and to be treated as full human beings. When you are outraged at what's happening in Syria, the massacres of our beloved Syrian sisters and brothers, that anger makes you act. But you are angry because you love the Syrian people, because you love the Rohingya people, you love the Somali people. We love our African American sisters and brothers, both inside of our community and outside of our community. So when we see a boy shot down by a police officer, we are outraged and angry because we love. Like that child is our child. This is what our deen teaches us. So imagine, sisters and brothers, if we were the leaders, if we were able to lead this nation from this very foundational place of Islam. It's not about making this country a Muslim country. We don't need this country to be a Muslim country. We just want to be able to practice our religion freely and allow everybody else to practice their religion freely. But we could lead with our principles and values. We have deep convictions as Muslims. And what I will also say to you, sisters and brothers, is that we also follow a deen that it's very practical. When I think about Islam, for me, it's a very practical religion. They tell us what? Trust in Allah, but what? Trust in Allah, but tie your camel, right? So we don't just sit back and wait for things to happen. Our religion teaches us to be proactive, to use the blessings, the intellect that Allah gave us, to use the tools, the resources, the knowledge that He has given us for us to be productive human beings in the societies in which we live, right? That's what they said, trust in Allah, but tie your camel. And us in the Muslim community, we got a lot of camels to tie. Our camels are running all around the country, and I'm trying to catch them all, so I need some help. Sisters and brothers, we have to build the infrastructure in the Muslim community to build the pipeline of leadership so that our young people see a clear path to rising and success, to be able to reach, right? To reach the place of being the next president of the United States of America. We need to ensure that our young people are integrated into the organizations that we are a part of. We need them on our boards. We need them to lead our programs. We need their feedback, because what we are building is for them. And if they are not part of the conversation, they're going to be left out of the conversation. And what's going to happen is they're going to create their own conversations. And then you're not going to be part of their conversations. And then that's how we continue to diverge in the Muslim community. So let's figure out as a Muslim community how we start identifying who those young leaders are in our community and start giving them the resources, the training, and the tools that they need so they can start leading our organizations and far beyond. Now, it's not like one morning you're going to wake up and be like, guess what? I'm going to be the next president of the United States of America. This is just kind of not how it works. Got to do a little work beforehand. When I think about our legacy as Muslims in this country, over 600 years, counting back maybe farther than that for those who came here as expeditionists to this nation before it was the United States. I don't know why we don't have more elected officials who are not Muslim. Why is that? I think, for example, about a state like Michigan. Who's from Michigan here? There's a lot of people from Michigan. I love Michigan. Michigan is my second favorite state. And I'm actually moving there temporarily 2018. So you'll see a lot more from me, Michigan. Now, I don't know. Michigan people, you tell me if I'm crazy. Why doesn't Michigan still doesn't have a Muslim mayor? I'm trying to figure that out. We do have some elected officials who are Muslim in the state of Michigan. That's progress. But for a state that's so highly concentrated of Muslims and so much talent and so much resources and some of the most amazing activists in America live in Michigan. Gotta have a couple of, not even one, a couple of Muslim mayors. Should have Muslims member of Congress. And the reason why I'm moving to Michigan in 2018 is because I'm about to make history. Because we're gonna have the first Muslim governor in America, and he's gonna be from the state of Michigan. So, the reason why I bring that up, sisters and brothers, we have a disease in our community, right? And the sister Yasmin Mujahid wrote a book about this. And I read another book. I think it was Ustav Taran that wrote this book, Diseases of the Heart. We have these diseases that we have to get rid of in the Muslim community. So we see a Muslim sister, mashallah, this Muslim sister's rising up. She's just flying up. And all of a sudden, no. Why her? No. I'm starting to feel envious. The diseases in my heart are growing. And instead of helping to build people up further, knowing that these sisters and brothers in our community are shattering ceilings for us, are opening doors wider for us, we start tearing down our own people. And then we start telling our people, what do you mean you're running for Congress? Ain't nobody gonna vote for a Muslim. In fact, that's what some Muslims told Abdul Sayyid, who's running for the governorship of the state of Michigan. They say, are you out of your mind? They say, you 33 years old, you're Egyptian American, you're married to an Indian American woman, she wears hijab, your name is Abdul Sayyid, for God's sakes. Do you really think that anybody's gonna vote for you? Instead of saying, MashaAllah, brother, I'm so proud of your courage and this initiative that you're taking, not just on behalf of you, but on behalf of all of us. Guess what, sisters and brothers? You got a young brother who's 33 years old, who's raised $1.9 million by himself. He is a scientist. He is a doctor. He's a Rhodes Scholar. He is a public health advocate. He was the secretary of the Detroit Health Department. He's a professor. I don't even know how he got all those accomplishments. Like, his accomplishments are things people do when they're 80 years old. And he has them all at the age of 33. And when I heard stories of people questioning him, it really broke my heart. But you know what he did, sisters and brothers? Stayed focused, kept his eyes straight, trusted in Allah. And now he has an actual shot at making history for all of us. So all of you got to start thinking about, what is it that you want to do? What door are you opening for somebody else? And what path are you creating for somebody before you? Because I already told you that somebody sacrificed for you to sit in this room today. The question is, what are we as Muslims in 2017 and 2018, what are you willing to sacrifice for Muslims who are going to come 100 years from now? And we all got to start thinking about that. And I'll end by saying this to all of you. You are worthy. You have the potential. We have everything as a community: education, resources, tools, ambition. We love our countries. We love our home countries. Some of us are bilingual and trilingual, and some of us speak more than 3 languages. We are exactly what this country needs. And what I tell you in this room, do not ever make anybody make you feel less than. That you are whole and you are enough. You are enough yesterday, you are enough today, and you're going to be enough tomorrow. Do not let the opposition define who you are. Only you define who you are. Do not ever let the opposition instill doubt or fear in your heart. Because the only fear we have is fear of Allah, and that's it. And that is a tool that we have in our hearts. And when we do what we do, when we fight against injustice, when we defend our deen in this country, when we defend our sisters in hijab, when we defend our masajid in this country, we have every right to. We have every right to be safe in these United States of America. So I want you to leave MAS-ICNA proud, unapologetically Muslim. Sisters and brothers, there's a difference between being a proud Muslim and an unapologetic one. So I'm asking you to be an unapologetically proud Muslim. Never apologize for who you are, for what you believe, because as a community, we in fact have everything to be proud of. So the next president of the United States of America, if you care about what I want to do for a living, I'd be happy to be your next Secretary of State.
Jazakallahu alf khairan. That was amazing. So inshallah we'll move on to some question and answers. MashaAllah, they've been coming in strong. So I'm going to try to cover as many as possible. So let's start. I believe that a leader is chosen, in the US at least, is chosen because the people choose them. How can a future President of the United States be a Muslim in a community that hates Muslims and Islam so strongly?
That's a great question. I am saying this with 1,000% of confidence, that you actually do not live in a country that hates Muslims. You live in a country where those who hate Muslims are just louder than everybody else. That's the fact of the matter. Our job as Muslims is to figure out how to build and organize with what I call the silent majority in these United States of America. Do not operate walking around your community or your campus or wherever you are thinking, oh my God, 98% of Americans hate Muslims. Absolutely not. That's actually not true. And these types of thoughts are what brings doubt to you and self-doubt to you, right? Who cares about who likes who? You still deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. You still have every right to be unapologetically Muslim, and guess what? You have every God-given right to be the next President of the United States of America.
separation of church and state compatible with Islam?
So let's be really clear about this whole separation of church and state business, right? Because it's very confusing. A lot of people think separation of church and state means that you're going to give up who you are as a Muslim, right? When you are in government, you are not basing your decisions solely on your faith to impose on other people. The way that you operate in this country are what I call my version of unity. So this is actually a great definition for Muslims within the community and then in our country. Unity is not uniformity, right? Unity doesn't mean we all do the same things. Unity means collective action in the best interest of everybody. So as a Muslim, if I'm leading with compassion and love and justice, guess what? Everybody benefits, Muslims and non-Muslims alike. So in this country, our role is not to impose our religion on anybody else. Our role in this country is to be unapologetically who we are, so other people can be unapologetically who they are. So I'm not asking anybody to go to the White House and be like, I'm a Muslim, we're going to turn the White House into the mosque. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we live in a country that the highest law of this land is the Constitution. And our religion supports and reinforces that we as Muslims follow whatever the highest laws of the land are, and in this case, it is the Constitution of the United States of America. And that does not make you any less Muslim to follow the laws of the lands in which you live.
So if somebody asked you about LGBT rights, can you bring up your point as a Muslim and why there shouldn't be LGBT people to begin with?
So Muslim community, let's start, we got to get this straight. And I hope that today this is the last time anybody asks this question, because it's a very problematic question when people ask this. So let's get a few things clear. You live in the United States of America. Everybody in this country has a right to live and be who they are. You don't got to agree with them. So for example, we're Muslims, right? We don't believe that Jesus is God's son, right? Is that true? Right? But we build with Christians, we go to the church, we do interfaith events with Jews. We don't share the same religious value, or maybe we share the same religious value, but we don't share the same religion as them. For example, we believe that if you believe Jesus is God's son, shirk, right or wrong. But nobody got a problem hanging out with the pastors. So I always wonder why we bring this issue of LGBTQ people. LGBTQ people are citizens and residents of the United States of America, and they deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. Guess what else they deserve? They also, for folks, whether you like it or not, there are people in our community who may consider themselves to be part of the LGBTQ or LGBTQ community. Now let me say this about that. We are in no place as masajid to turn anybody away from worshiping Allah. Whether the person is an adulterer, an alcoholic, if a person does whatever the other sins are, or whatever other people that you think are marginalized in our community, you cannot turn people away from Allah. Allah is the judge of all of us. You are not to judge other people. So this is what I never understand in the Muslim community. That we live in a country where we, as Muslims, believe that Allah, that all people were created by Allah. Do we all believe that? Do we all believe that Allah is the highest judge of us all? Then what's the problem? No one is asking you to give up your religious beliefs or your fundamental beliefs. We're saying that we want to be treated with dignity and respect. All people need to be treated with dignity and respect, and that includes LGBTQ people. So we got to keep our principles straight, sisters and brothers. We can't pick and choose. And everybody in our community, who whichever way they identify, deserve access to Allah. Do not push people away from the deen, because one day Allah is going to ask you, what did you do to that young man that came to the masjid, or that young sister that you threw out of the masjid when they came to pray to me, to put their forehead on the ground to worship me? Are you going to have an answer to that, sisters and brothers? So let us keep everything in Allah's hands, and let us treat each other with compassion and love and dignity like we expect to be treated. That's my answer.
How have you come to the place that you are as an activist and an accomplished woman? How do you pass through the barriers that people expect less of you?
Sisters and brothers, I was an inspiring high school English teacher. That's all I wanted to do. I watched that movie, Dangerous Minds, with Michelle Pfeiffer. Who watched that movie? I'm old, I know. I love that movie. I was moved by this idea of being a high school English teacher and going to inner city schools and working with young people of color, inspiring them through literature and through writing to express themselves and their experiences. And then 9/11 happened, and that's how I became the person that I am today. I'm not gonna lie to you, sisters and brothers. This is not easy what I'm doing. Because if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. Everybody would be an activist on the front lines of the movement. It's not easy. I have been tested so many times, sisters and brothers, in ways that I don't even want to describe to you. There are threats to my life. People in this country, and there are a very loud few, people who don't want to see a strong, unapologetic Palestinian Muslim American woman in hijab. They don't like it. They don't want to see it. So what they will do is, they will try everything. They have tried everything. Connected to terror groups, financing terror groups, this one's uncle this father this. You already know where I'm going with this, right? Everything. Anti-Semitic. They've tried every excuse in the book, and they keep going down the list until they're gonna find something that sticks on Sister Linda Sarsour. But you know why I keep doing it? Because Allah is the best of protectors. And Allah chose me for this. I know for a fact that Allah was preparing me to do this work. And what I say to you, sisters and brothers, is that I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not a perfect activist. I'm not a perfect human being. I struggle too. I sometimes I pray late and I regret it later, right? We all go. We all struggle with being good Muslims, right? That's who we are. We're flawed human beings. But what I will not do is I will not allow opposition to silence me. I will not be intimidated. You know why? Because too many people in our community are counting on people like me. They take one of us down, they'll take us all down. So I'm willing to take the hits because I truly believe, sisters and brothers, that Allah is the best of planners, and He plans for us everything. So whether that means I'm here today and next year I'm not at MAS-ICNA because Allah didn't choose for me to be alive next year, I'm good with that, sisters and brothers. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Allah has blessed me with beautiful, healthy children, a wonderful family, a wonderful Muslim community who supports me and who loves me and who stands with me. And I will do everything that I can to defend all of you in this room and those of our sisters and brothers outside of this room. You know why? Because you're worthy, because you deserve it, because I believe in our community, and I believe that we are whole human beings and that Allah only wants us to be blessed and loved and protected. And if I have to be a part of making sure that we are a blessed and beloved and protected community, I don't care what the barriers are. I'm gonna walk through every single one of them as God wills it.
Okay, inshallah, we'll take a couple more and then we'll close. What is the best way to accurately educate yourself on current events so that you can defend yourself properly when negotiating with other people?
So we live in the, I don't want to sound like the orange man in the White House, but I have to say this, because sometimes he has a point. He has a point every once in a while. Even a clock is right twice a day. There's a lot of fake news. And there's a lot of media outlets. Sometimes I watch Muslim sisters and brothers sharing articles from Breitbart. Why are we sharing why are you pushing anti-Muslim propaganda? Sometimes an outlet might actually be writing one good thing out of 9,800 things. Don't be pushing Breitbart, Daily Caller, Washington Examiner. You already know where I'm going with this. So you as Muslims have to be the spreaders of truth, right? That's what we're supposed to do. So when you see a headline, regardless of what the headline is, whether you agree with it or not, do something that should be normal, but it's not these days. Why don't you click on the article and actually read what the article says? Because the headline is clickbait, but you might not actually agree with the actual article and the content that is in it. So be cautious about the type of information that you share, especially on social media when you have friends who are not Muslims. So you may be in fact thinking you're informing somebody, but in fact you're passing on misinformation. Stay informed. Read papers of the record, which are not always 100%, but they're better than nothing. And you know what I'm talking about. New York Times, Washington Post, BuzzFeed is a good one. The local papers, for folks that are in different states, the Free Press or the Chicago Tribune, the New York Daily News, the LA Times. Like, there are papers of the record that you could be pulling up information. I also follow activists, and I follow people that I believe have sound political analysis. People from the environmental justice movement, people in the Black Lives Matter movement, professors and academics, and we have so many of them in our community. People like Sheikh Yasir Qadi and Imam Umar Suleiman and Sister Dalia Mujahid and Sister Dalia Fahmi. There's a lot of people in our community who keep feeding you information. Put out information so that you can understand what is happening around you. So follow our Muslim scholars, our Muslim activists, our Muslim academics in this room. Imam Dawood Walid, Sister Kamila Rashad, Sister Suad Abdul Kabir. I could sit here for days and name to you some of the most, actually not just influential analytics in the Muslim community, but really people follow them from all over the world because they're so full of information. So just make sure that you're passing on accurate information, that you are intellectualizing what is happening around you. Stay informed, but also stay sane, because that doesn't mean read news 24 hours a day, because if you read news 24 hours a day, we would all be like, we all need therapy. Like, I need therapy. So also take care of your heart, right? Watching babies in Palestine and Somalia and Syria, like a lot of that also like messes with your heart. So you also got to take care of your heart so you could take care of others and have clarity to be able to take action on the things that you see happening around you.
Okay, and that concludes our discussion for today. I'd like to